185 mile per hour sustained winds, gusts over 200 miles per hour, storm surges of 23 feet. These are all characteristics of a Category 5 hurricane. My name is Matthew Woolery, and today I'll be talking to you about Hurricane Dorian. I have done research on multiple credible news websites, and I've been following it recently as it has been going through the Bahamas and the United States. I will talk about the statistics of the hurricane, how big it was, the path it took, and I'll also be talking about the destruction it caused and how people were affected. And lastly, I will talk about what recovery is going to look like in the future for people affected by the storm. Now, it's not every day that a Category 5 hurricane happens, and Hurricane Dorian was certainly no ordinary hurricane. It started on August 24th from a tropical wave. It then moved on and strengthened over Puerto Rico, where it caused mostly just flooding and damage to houses. And it strengthened to a Category 5 over the Bahamas and made landfall over Labor Day weekend. It lingered there for about 40 hours, and it moved on towards the southeastern U.S., where it weakened to become less than a Category 5 hurricane. It affected Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina, and eventually it went up to Nova Scotia, Canada. From there, it dissipated off into the Atlantic Ocean. Again, as I mentioned before, it had sustained winds over 185 miles per hour, and that's winds. It stayed that wind speed for over 1 minute. It also had gusts over 200 miles per hour, so you can imagine how destructive this hurricane was. So with the scope that it covered and the many people affected, many homes were destroyed and people were even killed. The Bahamas were the hardest hit by Hurricane Dorian. 70,000 people were left homeless and 43 people were found dead. That death toll is expected to rise as search and rescue efforts continue. The southeastern U.S. was hit a little less hard as the storm had weakened, but it was still devastated many families and lives. There are about 6 suspected dead people from Hurricane Dorian in the southeastern U.S. In Canada, it had weakened enough where it just caused power outages and flooding. So with all these people devastated, there's a lot of help needed from foreign countries and humanitarian groups to help with the recovery. Organizations such as Red Cross and the United Nations were quick to help with the humanitarian crisis that unfolded in the Bahamas. The U.S. also played a part, along with Great Britain and 900 of the Bahamian military and police force to help immediately with search and recovery. With all these people homeless and needing jobs, they looked to the U.S. as a close place to go. In the beginning, they were more freely allowed in. Sometimes visas were waived and only passports were needed. But Donald Trump recently spoke on this issue, and he said that he didn't want to let dangerous people in from the Bahamas with a criminal background. So now it is more strictly enforced where you have to have either a passport with no criminal background or a visa to get in. So people are also looking for jobs in the U.S., and this blockade by Trump can be seen is being seen as a little bit unhumanitarian, especially by Democrats. So as is evident by the people affected, this hurricane was extremely destructive and separated families. So in conclusion, Hurricane Dorian was no ordinary storm. It caused lots of damage and affected many families. To summarize what I said before in my speech, Hurricane Dorian was a Category 5 storm. It was extremely powerful with over 185 mile per hour winds. It covered the whole coast of the eastern United States, and it also touched on Canada and the Bahamas. In this storm, many people had their homes demolished or flooded and were left helpless. Recovery from foreign countries has started to help, but it will take many months in the future to completely clean this up, possibly even years. So it is important to be aware of storms like this so you can take the necessary precautions, because if some of these people took the necessary precautions, they wouldn't have lost their families if they just had evacuated, which can be hard, I realize, in some situations. But it's also important to know about the damage it has caused so you can help the affected people with it. Thank you for listening to my speech.